Mr. McMahon, sorry to bother you again, but, I was looking towards the, Royal Rumble, and I just happened to come across the match card and, the segments. Obviously, we've got the Hogan-Andre segment, but it looks like we've still got about half an hour to fill there. I don't know what you want to do. I'm guessing you want to put in, some kind of another wrestling match. What do you think?
No, wrestling fans don't want to see wrestling. They want to see entertainment. Do the Dino Bravo thing.
I'm pretty sure the Dino Bravo weightlifting thing got pretty, was shot down in the creative process we had.
I don't care what got shot down. I'm the owner of this damn company. I'm Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and I decide what goes into the pay-per-view.
You don't know, it's not actually a pay-per-view. I mean, it will become a pay-per-view in WWF history, but it's actually a TV.
I don't care what it is. You put in the Dino Bravo weightlifting segment, or I fire your ass.
I just had a few reservations. It just seems a bit boring. I mean, the amount of weight limits we're gonna have to do.
This is what wrestling fans want to see. They want to see weightlifting. God damn it, I might even create my own weightlifting company. Just do it, okay? Just do it.
It's gonna take a while to implement.
You know what? I'm bored of you. I fired you, I rehired you, I fired you again, I rehired you. But this time, you're gone for good.
I did make the company, $2 million, just last week.
Only $2 million? I wanted 6, and therefore, nondescript accounting guy for the 3rd time in 3 weeks. You're fired.
Oh, hello there, wrestling fans, and welcome to the 8th edition of the WrestleReview series. I'm your host, Nathan Packham, and I urge you wherever you're listening from to be sure to like, repost, and share if you're enjoying the content, and you can send feedback to WrestleReviewFans@gmail.com. Don't forget all other episodes are archived on our YouTube and SoundCloud page, so be sure to check those out as well. You can follow WrestleReview on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us at facebook.com/WrestleReviewFans, or follow us at WrestleReviewPC on Twitter. This podcast is also now a member of the OSW Podcast Network on www.piledriverwrestling.net. Join the OSW community to discuss and follow this show and many others like it. This week's episode looks back at another experimental first in the WWF after the success of Survivor Series at the back end of 1987. That being the first Royal Rumble event on January the 29th of 1988. Coming to you from the Cops Coliseum in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Would the Rumble be a success? You probably already know the answer even if you're a casual wrestling fan, but let's explore just how this first outing for the sports entertainment tradition got on. We'll start, as always, with some background. So, at this event, we've got a women's tag team title match, and that's the Glamour Girls against the Jumping Bomb Angels. So, Leilani Kai and Judy Martin had won the title in a fictitious match in Egypt against Velvet McIntyre and Desiree Peterson, who I believe had carried the titles over from the NWA when they came. Leilani Kai and Judy Martin held the titles for 2.5 years, partly because there was basically zero competition for the title due to how small the women's division was, and you'd have to create contenders, and 2 that were actually strong enough to carry the belt. Leilani Kai and Judy Martin began calling themselves the Glamour Girls in November 1987. With the Jumping Bomb Angels becoming the number 1 contenders by pinning the champs in their elimination match at Survivor Series. A contract was then signed for this match at the Royal Rumble. And so in terms of the Royal Rumble match itself, Pat Patterson came up with the Royal Rumble idea, a battle royal where only 2 men would start, with guys entering every 2 minutes to prevent the usual clutter and lack of moves in a traditional battle royal. People would be eliminated by being thrown over the top rope and both feet hitting the floor. Although this seems to have been adapted for this event, creating some confusion, as we'll see. There was actually a Rumble match, interestingly, before the first official Royal Rumble here, and it took place on the 4th of October 1987 in St. Louis. However, this event only drew 1,976 fans and was a complete commercial failure. In this unofficial Rumble, the one-man gang won last by eliminating the Junkyard Dog, but this is not seen or mentioned by the WWE as the official start of this long-held sports entertainment tradition. The Royal Rumble was an experimental concept which was broadcast on a USA TV special on the same day as the NWA's Bunkhouse Stampede event, which unsurprisingly bombed in comparison to the Royal Rumble. Another strong victory for Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And we're on to the event itself. He has a very short background, probably because it was a TV special, not a pay-per-view. There's less information to be found out and about. So, we're live from the Cops Coliseum, and we hear straight from soft voice 80s Vince McMahon, who speaks over Rick Rude's theme, which is playing as he comes to the ring for match 1. We've got American red, white and blue ropes, even though we're in Canada, and we've got no definitive intro for this event, and no sexy sax music, as they would say on OSW Review. Love you guys, by the way, check them out, OSW Review. Vince runs down the card, which includes the contract signing between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, the match for the women's tag titles between the Glamour Girls and the Jumpy Bomb Angels, as you already heard about, Dino Bravo trying to break the bench press world record, and then a match between the Islanders and the Young Stallions, and of course the brand new 20-man Royal Rumble concept. Vince McMahon is with our favourite commentator, Jesse Ventura. He's got a cool sparkly feather boa on and a white suit, and he says he's pumped up for this one. So am I, Jesse. We're into match 1 then, straight away. We've got Rick Rude versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. We get the usual network overdub of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's music and a close-up of Rude, which shows him to be toned to absolute steroid oblivion. No steroids went into the making of this body. Cough, cough. Rude recently won the Jesse Ventura Body Award. I'm excited for this one, of course, as these two are two of my all-time favourites, but I will be slightly disappointed, as you'll find out. We get some early punches from Rick Rude, chops from Ricky Steamboat, as you'd expect. A little scientific wrestling, actually, to begin this contest, which was a shame. Steamboat skins the cat and backdrops Rick Rude over the top. Rude complains that Steamboat hooked his tights as he went over the top, and referee Hebner reprimands Steamboat, even though he hasn't seen a replay, and Rick Rude is almost certainly lying as the heel competitor. Rude shows off his body, and the two engage in a test of strength. Rude wins this initially, as Ventura says Rude's muscles aren't cosmetic. Cough, cough. Perhaps an attempt to quell rumours of steroids. Cough. Steamboat fights back like a classic face would. He counters into an armbar and elevates Rude with it. He works for quite a while on the arm of Rude, arm drags him off an Irish whip and goes back to an armbar. Steamboat chops the arm as Rude reaches for the ropes. He chops him as he comes off the ropes and goes back to this bloody armbar. Ventura complains that Steamboat's chops always hit the throat, and that should be an illegal move. Steamboat even does a standing splash on the arm to further work on it. This slow, methodical work on the arm is more befitting a heel, actually, than a mega face like Ricky Steamboat. Rude finally fights back, as if he were the face, smashing Steamboat's head into every turnbuckle, hitting some punches, and raking the face of Steamboat, which is a bit more of a heelish move, I guess. But arm drag from Steamboat brings the dreaded armbar back to Rick Rude. At this point, there's a fan with a Jimmy Hart megaphone, I'm guessing this is merchandise, who is basically engulfing the whole center of the arena with this prop. She's having a go at Rick Rude and cheering for Steamboat before she descends into what I'm guessing is slightly drunken blabber. Rude reverses an Irish whip and hits an elbow to Steamboat's eye. Yes, I don't understand how it would be that accurate, but there you go. He hits a knee to Steamboat's kidneys, and Steamboat falls outside from the impact and pain. Steamboat struggles to beat the count back in, but he makes it to the apron, and Rick Rude sends him back into the ring with a sweet suplex. He then applies a camel clutch, and it appears Steamboat taps out, but I don't believe tapping out was actually a thing yet. You actually had to tell the ref you'd given up in the 80s. I think it came in the 90s with Ken Shamrock and the whole MMA thing. In fact, Steamboat, when he's tapping and banging, is trying to fire up the crowd, who don't seem to be that interested after how long they've been subjected to his arm bars. Ventura describes Rick Rude's submission as chiropractic adjustment the hard way. Nice. I don't want to be really entering Rude's clinic anytime soon. Steamboat reverses the submission by picking up Rude and hitting an electric chair, with Rick Rude on his shoulders, obviously. He tries a standing splash, but Rude gets the knees up. Rude hits a reverse atomic drop, but doesn't get the 3 count, so he decides to go back to this bloody camel clutch thing. Steamboat once again smacks his hand on the mat to try and fire at the crowd, but they refuse to respond again. He pushes Rude out of his camel clutch, and Rude hits his head on the turnbuckle. And then Steamboat does the classic head on the turnbuckle 10-time things, Steamboat performs a snapmare and a chop, but doesn't get the 3 off an attempted pin. We then get a quick section, especially for this slow burner, of cool pinning combinations, including a bridge by Rick Rude, which is reversed into a backslide by Steamboat, along with a flurry of roll-ups and small packages. This is broken up by a big clothesline by Rude, but once again he doesn't get a 3 count. Steamboat blocks a Rude suplex and hits his own delightfully executed one. Steamboat goes up top to hit a splash, but Rude pushes the ref in front of him as Steamboat comes off the top and Hebner takes the hit himself. Rude gets a torch rack submission on Steamboat as the bell rings. Rude thinks he's won because Steamboat has submitted, but in fact the referee has disqualified Rude for pushing him in the path of Steamboat's crossbody. Rude is disgusted. He comes back to the ring and berates the ref as we fade out for what would have been an ad break, I guess, on the main broadcast. This match for me was a real slow burner with too many arm bars from Steamboat, who behaved like a heel in this section of this match, despite being a mega face. However, the second half, once the armbar debacle was over, was technically beautiful and well choreographed with the ambiguous finish, even though it was pretty obvious what the decision would be in the end. So we move on now to possibly one of my least favourite segments in wrestling history, the Dino Bravo Bench Press Challenge. Vince McMahon and Ventura introduced the bench press. Oh no, actually I think it's Mean Gene and Ventura introduced the bench press. Ventura insults Mean Gene's strength and explains his role as the safety point known as the spotter. Bravo enters with his manager Frenchy Martin, who is so French. Bravo says something cliche about being confident he can beat the world record, and Martin speaks French to build heel heat, even though the show is emanating from Canada. Mean Gene says merci beaucoup after the promo, which I thought was a great response, having no idea what he was saying. The opening warm-up weight is 415 pounds. Bravo asks for total silence, and despite the crowd being Canadian, they respond to him as a heel and boo repeatedly. I even heard an air horn a few points. He passes this and goes up to 5:05. Yes, this segment is very slow. Mean Gene tries his best to lift this dull segment. There's very little to analyse beside mentioning how many people are watching the Rumble in the arena and on national TV. Next up is £555, and the crowd continue to boo and cheer as Ventura says,
"Whether you like him or not, at least give him a chance."
Notice how Ventura and McMahon's voice is the same in my estimation. And the ultra face Mean Gene actually agrees with Ventura for once. Bravo passes £555. What a shot. What a shock. Next up, we've got £595, snore. And Mean Gene points out that this is a mere £110 off the record. Woohoo! There are continued delays as Bravo struggles to perform with all the booing and lack of silence from the seriously bored crowd. I was so bored at this point as well. You probably hear it in my voice. Bravo passes £595, and we're on to £655 as Ventura accuses Vince of causing the crowd reaction. Bravo, unsurprisingly, passes £655. Ventura says he himself never managed £655, as Mean Gene points out that most people in the world haven't. And finally, we're on to the great £715, the world bench press record. Ventura points out that this is unofficial at the moment, as the bar hasn't been officially weighed, and some of the larger weights can be a few pounds out. I thought it was a great bit of analysis from Ventura in this awful segment. Perhaps this is also code for this isn't actually £750 and everything is kayfabe. Dino Bravo walks out before the attempt begins, a cowardly act which Ventura blames on the totally bored crowd. Bravo comes back and bench presses the record with some considerable help from Ventura, who clearly raises the bar with Bravo, and unsurprisingly Vince points out the obvious on commentary. We fade to black as Vince sends us to another message from your cable providers. I must drink. Sorry, I've had a bit of a cold and a bit of a cough. I actually lost my voice earlier in the week, so I need a drink here to carry on the podcast. Here we go. Oh yeah, gotta love a bit of water. That was weird. Oh yeah. Match 2. Finally, we're on to some wrestling. The Glamour Girls, the women's tag team champions, with Jimmy Hart in his awesome gold suit, versus the Jumping Bomb Angels in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the WWF Women's Tag Titles. The Jumping Bomb Angels enter with overdubbed music, which doesn't really fit their overtly Asian gimmick. In fact, it sounds a little country to me. Ventura takes the time here to press the point that he believes he wasn't actually touching the bar in the Bravo Challenge when he obviously was. We get a double dropkick from the JBAs, as you'd expect to begin. The Bomb Angels, after this Survivor Series performance, unsurprisingly impress early on, converting a potentially botched pile driver into a suplex. Ventura asks Vince for the name of the Jumping Bomb Angels, but he says as he doesn't speak Asian, he can't give the names. Racism. Ventura only wants them so that he can ask one of the Jumping Bomb Angels out on a date. Sexism. The Jumping Bomb Angels continue to impress, hitting great crossbodies and dropkicks. One of the Jumping Bomb Angels puts on a Black Widow submission on one of the Glamour Girls. It's broken up, but then both of the Jumping Bomb Angels put figure fours on both of the Glamour Girls. The legal Jumping Bomb Angel breaks up her figure four and does a few weird rowboat moves, splitting the legs twice. We get a further submission, which seems to be a Triple H style Indian deathlock, with accompanying smash your own back on the floor to talk the leg thing. Martin tries to save Kai from the onslaught, but the Jumping Bomb Angels win a tug of war test of strength. Hart cries from ringside for Kai to get circulation back in her leg after her problems. Eventually, the Glamour Girls get some momentum back when the Jumping Bomb Angel is thrown out of the corner after climbing the turnbuckle. Vince describes Judy Martin as the largest of these women, as the legal Jumping Bomb Angel is given a knee to the back after coming off the rope from the illegal Glamour Girl. And then the legal Glamour Girl hits a Big Show-esque alley-oop on the legal Jumping Bomb Angel, and the Glamour Girls pick up the victory in the first fall, despite being dominated for most of it, except obviously for their end offense and that crazy Big Show-esque alley-oop. In the second fall, the legal Glamour Girl looks to gain an early pinfall, but the Jumping Bomb Angel in question bridges out of it. This leads to the return of the quick offense of the JBAs, who hit the usual crossbodies, etc. The Glamour Girls end up clotheslining each other as they look to finish off the JBAs. It becomes a fall apiece when the legal Glamour Girl attempts a powerbomb, but this is reversed into a slightly botched and delayed sunset flip, where the legal JBA almost smashes down right on her head before hooking the legs, dragging the shoulders to the mat and picking up the pinfall. So we're at one fall each as we go into sudden death. Vince and Ventura take the time between the falls to promote the Hogan and Andre contract signing coming up later on, and the Rumble match, just to show how much they don't give a shit about hyping the last fall / women's wrestling in general. The legal JBA hits an enziguri as we begin the third fall, but Judy Martin blocks her attempts at a fisherman's and then hits a catapult, with the JBA just faceplanting the floor rather than, hitting the corner, as wrestlers often do today on a catapult. The JBA has her hair pulled on the apron, and this is followed by a great underhook suplex, but this only gives the Glamour Girls a 2 count. The legal JBA gets a tag, but the beatdown continues. The ref is distracted by choking the corner, and a double team throw happens. Legal Jumping Bomb Angel blocks a punch after coming off the ropes, so they seem to be building momentum to a grand finish. The legal JBA hits a body slam, tags in a partner who proceeds to hit an absolutely awful knee drop from the top rope. This obviously only gets a 2 because it's terrible. Further close calls for the JBAs as they hit an awesome underhook and a standing crossbody, but to no avail. The legal JBA misses a move from the turnbuckle but isn't pinned for 3. Then I got a bit confused in my notes and recollection because I believe the Glamour Girls hit a clothesline from the top off a tag, but they didn't get a 3 because it was broken up. Then the Jumping Bomb Angels hit a great tandem drop kick. This has to be move of the night for me, off the top rope, as the referee is reprimanding the illegal Glamour Girl. The illegal Glamour Girl in question is then dropped kicked away from the pinfall by the illegal JBA, and the JBAs get the 3 and become your new Women's Tag Team Champions. Ventura disputes whether Judy Martin's shoulders were actually on the mat, as it appears the Jumping Bomb Angel pinned her and had lifted her shoulders off the mat. However, Vince argues that the shoulder blade was down, and this is all that matters. Great technicalities on pinfalls here. Ventura uses this excuse to brilliantly suggest that if this pin is legitimate, then Dino Bravo's bench press must be. Great link, Jesse Ventura. This was another awesome display from the Jumping Bomb Angels, even though they had to work with the slightly incompetent Glamour Girls, and the likes of the awesome Velvet McIntyre were missing from this bout. It wasn't quite as good as the Survivor Series elimination match, but still very strong and easily matched the night. I've given this 3.5 stars out of 5. I've just remembered I forgot to say that I gave Steamboat Be Rude 3 stars out of 5. Didn't enjoy the armbar, but the technicality near the end was good to watch. So we're back with McMahon and Ventura after a short break. They look back at the controversy surrounding the beginning of the Andre the Giant Hulk Hogan match at WrestleMania 3, where Andre fell onto Hogan after he failed a body slam, and it was ambiguous whether the ref counted 3. Ventura thinks he did, obviously, because he's the heel commentator, but Vince argues that Joey Morella only counted 2 and was in fact raising his hand to say 2. Can't exactly say that Vince's explanation is convincing, as Morella's hand goes down and not up, but there you go. We then are shown footage of Ted DiBiase announcing he will attempt to buy the title off Hogan. Hogan mulls over the decision and then gives a definitive, "Hell no." Ventura thinks he would have a price for the $1 Million Man, and that Hogan made a mistake not retiring from wrestling with a wad of cash. You've got to love the body's heel way of thinking. Then we see how, on an edition of Saturday Night's Main Event, Andre headbutted Hogan several times and choked him out. And once again, Ventura described Hogan as a fool for not taking the money and blames Hogan for getting choked. I don't know how. Andre announces he will deliver the belt to Ted DiBiase after he wins it off Hogan on February the 5th. Andre, Virgil and Ted DiBiase enter as we fade to another break. So the Hulk Hogan Andre the Giant contract signing begins. Mean Gene introduces the contract signing and then the champion, Hulk Hogan. Hogan is in bizarre, supposedly casual attire, weird blue trousers and a white shirt. And he taunts Andre as he enters the ring by showing him how mad the crowd is for Hogan. Ventura questions why Canadians would cheer a man whose theme portrays him as a real American. Very good point. Mean Gene then introduces the supposedly 7'4" and 425 pound Andre the Giant and his bodyguard Virgil and manager Ted DiBiase, because of course Bobby Heenan sold Andre the Giant to Ted DiBiase for what Ventura hilariously describes as a couple of bucks later on. The on-screen president Jack Tunney is on hand and it is as dull as ever. He tells us that the contractual material has been thoroughly looked over by the WWF officials. Perhaps someone like the voice I did earlier. You know, the Vince McMahon, sorry Vince voice, yeah, that kind of guy. That kind of accountant. Andre the Giant takes his time in sitting down, leaning on the ropes in an attempt to psych out Hogan. Andre finally sits down and Hogan is taunted by the $1 Million Man, who says he's nervous and is hesitating too much. Ted DiBiase then describes the contract as a career-ending contract for Hogan. He says Hogan will be history and the belt will be around the waist of the $1 Million Man, obviously because Andre is going to sell it to him. Andre takes ages to sign the contract. DiBiase says he is saving the moment and says he deserves to because he should already be champion by now because of what happened at WrestleMania 3. Andre eventually signs it, and then Andre and Hogan then arise from the stupidly small table and chairs, possibly to make them seem bigger than they actually are, and they stare down before Hogan is goaded into attacking the $1 Million Man, and Andre grabs his head and smashes it onto the table. Hogan is dazed and looks vulnerable. Is this a sign for February the 5th? You'll have to find out in the Aftermath section. Cheap plug to carry on listing there. We're back to Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura. The two introduce the Royal Rumble match. You're going through the list of names who are entering. You also go over now the age-old rules, but you needed to know back in 88. You're eliminated if you go over the top, but strangely they say that for this first Rumble, that wherever your feet land, if you've gone over the top, you are eliminated. So does that mean you can land on the apron and you can be eliminated? It's very strange. This will cause confusion later on when people go over the top and land on the apron but aren't told to leave because they're eliminated. Two men start with 2-minute intervals between participants. So match 3, the start of an absolute, my favourite tradition in sports entertainment, that being the Royal Rumble match. So both participants starting the match are already in the ring. There's no tense ring entrance as yet to build up hype like you would get in later Royal Rumbles. Bret Hart drew number 1 and is accompanied by his manager Jimmy Hart. He puts the shades on he forgot to put on as he has announced, and tag team champ Tito Santana is entered too. You can see they're already thinking about how they could incorporate feuds into the Rumble, with a top contender for the tag belt going against one of the tag champs. Of course, Hart the contender, Santana the tag champ, I believe. There's a funny sign which seems to say Rumble Royal rather than Royal Rumble as we begin. We get quick fast start as both guys look very technically sound, as you could expect from these two strong performers. Hart's move set in the opening 2 minutes includes an atomic drop and an elbow drop. The number 3 entrant is one of my least favourite 80s wrestlers, and it's a shame after that great start we've got Butch Reed, but this time in non-Hulk Hogan attire, thank goodness. And he unsurprisingly beats on ultra face Tito Santana as his heel, but Santana works on his knee to prevent elimination and performs a double knocking knocker to the heels. But the heels continue to double team. We get an axe handle from Butch Reed as Hart holds him. And the entry number 4 is good for Bret Hart as well, as it's Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Hart is staving off an elimination as he enters. It's now a triple team job on Santana as Bret Hart hits an elbow from the top as both Jim Neidhart and Butch Reed hold Santana. He's triple teamed for the rest of the 2 minutes but holds on. Lucky for Tito, entry 5 is mega overface Jake the Snake Roberts, who immediately eliminates the incompetent Butch Reed, and him and Tito Santana beat on the Harts. Roberts tries to fire up the crowd even further with the DDT, but he's stopped by stiff clothesline by Neidhart. Bret also hits a pile driver, and then entrance 6 is the aging Harley Race, who just hits repeated elbows on Jake the Snake Roberts basically for the whole 2 minutes. Entrance 7 is Jim Brunzell, and now we've got a perfect 3 heel versus 3 face team setup. It seems Hart goes over the top onto the apron, but this is ignored because the anywhere over the top ropes rule is both stupid and seems to have just been discarded already in the match. Entrance 8 is Sam Houston. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine on that one. I have no idea who he is. I looked on Wiki and it still didn't give me that much information. He hits energetic shots to all the heels, but Santana, who puts up a brave fight he hits energetic shots to all the heels, and Santana puts up a brave face despite the heel onslaught. Number 9 is my boy, as they would say on OSW Review. It's Dangerous Danny Davis. And then Sam Houston and Dangerous Danny Davis exchange fisticuffs. I'm guessing they have some kind of mild rivalry going on. Davis gets beaten on as per usual, is backdropped by Jake the Snake Roberts, but avoids the dreaded TDT, despite the crowd absolutely baying for it. Number 10 is a budget Nikolai Volkov, that being Boris Yukov. He makes a beeline for Houston as well. Bret Hart is looking awesome and already ready for a singles push here, with a great display of endurance. Remember, he was entrant number 1, of course. Entrant 11 is seemingly both Don Morocco and Nikolai Volkov. I don't know if this was a planned spot or a cock-up, but Morocco is declared the legal man. He takes a shot of Volkov, who stares outside angrily before it's his turn. Without his partner to help him, Zukov is eliminated by Jake Roberts and Jim Brunzell. Then finally, number 12, Nikolai Volkov enters after the confusion. Morocco eliminates Harley Race, who takes ages to leave, partly because he's annoyed and partly because he's so old. Vince says he might well be fined or suspended if he stays complaining much longer. Save yourself from Vince, Harley, jeez. Number 11 is Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Harley Race takes a shot at Duggan as he's leaving, so Duggan chases him away. Was this planned as well, or a way to build heel heat for Harley Race? I don't know. Number 14 is Ron Bass, and Volkov, I think, is eliminated by Jim Brunzell, or eliminates Jim Brunzell, the Killer Bees, I'm not sure. His Killer Bees partner, B. Brian Blair, is next to enter, and Bret Hart saves Jim the Anvil Neidhart from B. Brian Blair, and another example of why this performance is so awesome in this match. Number 16 is Hillbilly Jim, who eliminates the long-lasting Jim the Anvil Neidhart. See you later, Jimmy, with a backdrop. B. Brian Blair is thrown over the top by Ron Bass, but once again the over-the-top rope but anywhere stupid rule is ignored. Thank goodness this was changed later on. Number 18 is supposedly world bench press holder Dino Bravo, who is doing double duty. Houston is eliminated by Bass off his shoulder. It was actually number 17 who Dino Bravo was. Number 18 is a very green, not as ripped, and rookie Ultimate Warrior, who does have Hulk Hogan-esque clothing on. Screw you, Butch Reed. Bret Hart is eventually eliminated after a great performance by Don Morocco, and I shed a little tear. Aww. Number 19 is the one-man gang, possibly the favourite for this match, in my opinion. B. Brian Blair is eliminated by the one-man gang, as is Jake the Snake Roberts, who never did perform a DDT, and the crowd are very disappointed. Number 20 is about to enter, but before that, Ventura asks Vince McMahon whether he's the 20th entrant. If only Ventura knew at this time how Vince would impact on Rumble history. 1999. The 20th man isn't Vince McMahon. It's the Junkyard Dog. A little bit different there. So Volkov is eliminated by a backdrop by Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Hillbilly Jim is eliminated by the one-man gang. This is classic big man dominance for the one-man gang. Dangerous Danny Davis. No, my boy. He's eliminated by Hacksaw Jim Duggan. The Warrior is rather mundanely eliminated by Bravo and one-man gang. Hardly the fanfare we see later on in terms of the Warrior. Ventura pleads for San Martino to be included as some sort of that's Bruno San Martino, the legend, of course, to be included as some sort of 21st entrant, just so that he could see the old man suffer. How nice, Jesse. The JYD is eliminated in about 2 minutes, in an equally mundane way to the Ultimate Warrior by Ron Bass, who is then eliminated himself by Morocco. So we're down to our final four. That's Don Morocco, the one-man gang, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and Dino Bravo. And it's a 2v2 heel face fight, and that ensues, as you'd expect. Morocco does some James Bond rolls to escape the heels and delivers a dropkick to the one-man gang. And also, Frenchie Martin. Yes, he's back with Dino Bravo, and Martin falls off the apron. However, Dino Bravo holds Dom Morocco, and the one-man gang clotheslines Morocco out. So now it's the classic 2 heels v 1 face Rumble scenario, which will become a regular spot in years to come. The 2 heels perform tag team moves, including a double clothesline to Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Hacksaw Jim Duggan moves as one-man gang comes to clothesline him out, and Dino Bravo is accidentally eliminated by the one-man gang instead. We're down to Hacksaw Jim Duggan and one-man gang to become the winner of the first ever Royal Rumble. The commentators wonder how Hacksaw will get one-man gang out. Well, this is all building to your standard Rumble end, isn't it, really? Ventura suggests the only way he will do this will be to get his 2x4. Oh, must have a drink of water after this. Jeez. The 2x4 isn't needed as Hacksaw Jim Duggan drops down, pulls the rope down, and the running one-man gang goes over. Ventura can't believe that Duggan is that smart and suggests he trip to win. So Hacksaw Jim Duggan wins the first ever Royal Rumble. He has no idea how important that will be as a statistic later on when it becomes such a huge event. And my favourite event of the year as well. This was a decent start to an amazing sports entertainment tradition. There weren't that many classic moments to speak of apart from a great endurance performance from Bret Hart and the underdog win of Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I give this one just 3 out of 5 stars. Entertaining, competent, but nothing really to write home about apart from Hart and Duggan. We then fade to more adverts, and I am going to have another drink. Oh yeah, baby, that's sweet water. We're back with McMahon and Ventura. McMahon describes Andre the Giant's actions in the contract signing as despicable. But Ventura thinks he sent a message to Hogan. We get a recap of the much replayed Hogan table smash. Then the shit mean Gene, Greg de George, is with Hulk Hogan, who now has his classic yellow Hulkamania shirt on, but still with those awful light blue trousers. He says Andre the Giant's actions added more fuel to the fire, and there's a homoerotic moment where there always is with Hogan, where Hogan says, "When I think of you," I don't know why he's also McMahon and Ventura, and he then rips off the shirt as if he's thinking of Andre in that way. Anyway, horrible images. Move on! He says the usual thing of being unable to beat the thousands of Hulkamaniacs, blah blah, and he'll retain the title, blah blah. Hogan celebrates with the crowd for no reason, then leaves. What a dull, predictable promo. Fade to another break. You Americans have well, actually it was in Canada, wasn't it? But it was shown on USA. You Americans have way too many breaks in your programming. Just saying, the Brits just saying. Match 4, your main event. I don't know why they didn't just put the Rumble last, but you've got the Islanders, Haku and Tama versus the Young Stallions, Paul Roma and Jim Powers in another 2 out of 3 falls tag match. We learned that the Islanders made Matilda, the British Bulldog's dog, mentally and physically ill by kidnapping her. Sounds like a really weird story. They were suspended until she was given back. She had been very sad, apparently, after this kidnapping, or dog napping, shaken and had lost weight. The Stallions enter to an utterly shite pop rock 80s throwaway theme. The crowd is so dead as the match begins after the excitement of the Rumble match, an indication of how invested they were in the experimental concept and how successful it was. We hear that Bobby Heenan has been watching the Andre the Giant story unfold from Barbados after he got a huge payoff so that the $1 Million Man could manage Hogan. Then Vince randomly says that the bench press was boring. Yes, Vince agrees. Vince agrees with me on something, not politics. I'm never going to agree with Vince's politics. So yeah, it seems a weird way for Vince to sell his product to say part of it was boring. Ventura puts this down to the fact Vince is a Twinkie, although Vince is, would become heavily involved. I don't know whether he was at this point, but he would become heavily involved in enjoying, bodybuilding later on. If you've seen that latest Muscle and Fitness shoot, my goodness. I mean, it's a little bit Photoshop, but it's still scary that a 69-year-old man can look like that. And Ventura says that man would have preferred a prose reading. Wouldn't most people compare to that boredom? At least you might have had one moment of excitement in the lovely prose reading. The match is basically just a chance to recap the show, and the commentators pay little attention to the action early on. Vince has another go at Ventura and says him and Dino Bravo now hold the tag team weightlifting record. Probably Vince's only good comment of the night. No, that's harsh on Vince. Back to the match finally, and we get an early crazy arm drag from Haku that effectively lands Roma on his head, and he is sent into the ropes. Tama misses a running elbow to the ground after a body slam. Tama later hits a crazy elevated elbow off the turnbuckle when tagged in. Powers is pretty beaten up by this point, but can't get the tag. McMahon says that the toes of the Islanders are huge, and Ventura, of all people, calls him a racist. Paul Roma is eventually tagged in, hits a backdrop and a botched dropkick that only glances the head of the Islander in question. A double team sees Roma sent over the top, with Tama throwing Roma to the ropes and Haku dropping the ropes in a Hacksaw Jim Duggan-esque manner. Yes, it's already that famous, that rope drop, that we're now saying Hacksaw Jim Duggan-esque. Paul Roma delivers Paul Roma develops a knee problem, delivers a knee problem. That'd be a good finisher. The knee problem! Which I'm pretty sure is supposed to happen, it's kayfabe, and he can't get to his feet and back in the ring to answer the 10 count, so he's counted out. Therefore, the Islanders win the first fall. We fade to adverts with awful 80 synths playing as a bridge to the adverts. So the Young Stallions are now backstage due to injury, and this is an excuse for Craig DeJour, or the Ship Mean Gene, to interview Andre the Giant, the $1 Million Man, and Virgil. Well, of course, Virgil doesn't speak. The $1 Million Man says the sight of Hogan on the floor was a glimpse into the future, and the $1 Million Man argues that Andre the Giant will cover him in the future and not that shitty oak table. Oh, you'd hope that an oak table wouldn't win the WWF title, wouldn't you? But, I suppose Russo wasn't in... I don't think he was with the WWF at this point. He says this is finally the beginning of the end of Hulkamania. Andre believes that he's still undefeated after the WrestleMania 3 controversy. Craig DeJour, the Ship Mean Gene, tries to get off Andre the Giant, but Andre the Giant shouts at a very scared Craig DeJour, the Ship Mean Gene. I should just stop saying that, but it's so fun. And blabbers on in his imperceptibly deep voice. DeJour has to cut off the interview finally because of a break. Before the Young Stallions return to the ring for fall 2. Finally, Paul Roma can barely move. He's either badly injured or an awesome seller. He has to start the fall though, because the winners and losers of the last fall have to begin. A rule I was unaware of until I saw the event. Tama unsurprisingly destroys his leg. Roma blocks a shitty standing splash with his leg, but is obviously just as injured from this as the Islander is. But he does manage to get the tag. Jim Powers gets a lot of offense in, hitting a nice leg drop and also ramming the head of the legal Islander into the ring post. Ventura says that crazy yippie guy Abby Hoffman would love the anti-establishment rhetoric of the Giantomania gimmick growing in the WWF, saying the moral right minority are the real realists in the WWF. Powers gets a small package, but no 3 to level things up. It's then Haku who builds offense with a backbreaker. Ventura insults the Indianapolis 500 in order to build heat for the 5th of February event in Indianapolis. I swear this whole match is just filler to look over the night's action and to promote the huge February the 5th main event. The Islanders really get going here with Haku hitting a dropkick and suplex but not securing the 3. He then locks in a submission stretch, but Powers reverses, but Haku prevents the tag with a body slam. But he then misses a running standing somersault off the ropes. Oh, God, my voice. But Powers has no energy to get the tag due to having a bare back himself. Haku hits a massive chop but then misses a dropkick. Ventura repeats his insulting pronunciation of Tama in previous events as Toma after having a go at Vince McMahon earlier on for racism. Oh, Ventura, you're so contradictory. As is your politics. What? The disabled Paul Roma is tagged in, but the predictable happens as a few leg sweeps get him down, and we get repeated elbows to the knee from the Islanders. Haku exposes the leg, tags Tama, who hits a splash on the knee, ouch, from the top, as the referee is distracted by a protesting Jim Powers. A Boston crowd makes Roma submit as his leg is obviously in agony, whether that be real or kayfabe. It's a 2-0 win then for the Islanders. Yeah, that's it for this match. A rarity in 2 out of 3 falls matches, as you're obviously supposed to build suspense / go into the third fall for entertainment purposes. The crowd was seriously dead for this match after the Rumble, and we got a huge break with the Andre the Giant interview / Paul Roma injury, which hurt the match further. It was a decent showing from both teams, and I liked the knee angle, if it was in fact an angle, even if it made Roma pointless for the second fall. This wasn't a main event, it felt like a slightly crappy after party to the Rumble. However, I've still given it 3 out of 5 stars. So McMahon and Ventura wrap up, and McMahon carries on debating the bench press despite admitting he found it boring, saying that at 6:85 the bar was beginning to slip, and then obviously what happened at 7:15, where Ventura helped. But Ventura once again says he did not assist in any way. Vince describes it as an unofficial world record. You could say that again, Vinnie Mac. We get another discussion of Hogan and Andre again as well, and we watch that bloody table head smash again. Hogan's head just so clearly doesn't hit the table, perhaps a very light contact at best. Ventura says Hogan is scared and the whole civilized world saw how Hogan looked. Are you sure you aren't racist, Ventura? And we get one last promotion of the bloody February 5th main event, and then we're all done as McMahon and Ventura sign out. The end. Drink time. Ah. So, in conclusion to this event, there are a few decent matches on this card, and it's an important reference point for the start of a sports entertainment tradition. It's worth bearing in mind that this was a TV special and not officially a pay-per-view, although it has been moved to the pay-per-view section of the WWE network, but perhaps just for continuity or something. However, the event leaned way too heavily on the nauseatingly dull Dino Bravo Bret's Press Challenge and the very dull contract signing and shitty table head smash thing that got replayed 400 times between Hogan and Andre. Even though the actual wrestling was pretty competent on the show throughout. My MVP for this event would have to be Bret Hart, who showed he was already equipped for the singles push which would eventually arrive in the 90s with an endurance showing in the Rumble. The worst performer for me was Dino Bravo, who was the face of a boring segment, a nauseatingly boring segment, and after this hype he didn't go on and win the Rumble. Vince was competent and Ventura was exceptional as always despite the odd predictable racist comment, but they both wouldn't shut up about the bench press and contract signing as any good action suffered from the commentators not really paying attention to it. Overall, I gave Royal Rumble 1988 Royal Rumble 1988 6 out of 10 for decent wrestling, awful segments, and for the start, of course, of my favourite concept in WWF/E history. So, now I'm getting all bunged up. This is just going to sound great on the mic, isn't it? Oh, God. Just drink some more water, Nate. God. Now, I'll give you a little bit of aftermath to the event. The Rumble drew a crowd of 18,000 people to the Cops Coliseum and an insane TV rating of 8.2, the highest on TV for wrestling ever until the February 5th main event beat it, but more of that shortly. The women's tag titles were unfortunately, or perhaps predictably, discontinued in the summer of 1988, after the Jumping Bomb Angels had lost them back again to the Glamour Girls, and the Jumping Bomb Angels didn't hang around much longer in the WWF. The fairly unnecessarily titled due to the smaller women's division and, lack of big competition, was discontinued in February of 1989, and I don't believe has ever come back. I know TNA had a Tag Team Knockouts title, if I seem to remember correctly. So Hogan and Andre would battle it out on the February 5th at the main event, which was Saturday night's main event on a Friday instead, in front of a record TV audience for a wrestling event which I believe stands to this day of 33 million people. That's half the population of this here UK, or around half. In the event, Hogan kicks out of in the actual event, Hogan kicked out of a shitty botched underhook suplex, that Andre finisher, but the dodgy ref, who was supposed to be Dave Hebner, counted the 3. It was later revealed that $1 Million Man had paid for this ref to have plastic surgery to look like Dave Hebner. In fact, it was Dave Hebner's brother, Earl. Dave ran to the ring to confront his brother. They both beat each other up, and after Earl had beaten up Dave, Hogan tried to throw Earl out onto DiBiase, but DiBiase, Andre, and Virgil only just caught him, and Earl Hebner smashed onto the floor. It's it's both funny and disturbing to watch if you get the chance. Andre subsequently sold the title to Ted DiBiase in exchange for copious amounts of money, but dull on-screen WWF President Jack Tunney vacated the title, making Andre the Giant's reign last for apparently about 45 seconds. Wow. A new champ would be crowned in a 14-man tournament at WrestleMania 4, which is up next on WrestleReview. Cheap plug, cheap plug, cheap plug. So, yeah, that's a wrap for today, guys. Here's a little outro. We've wrapped it up. Thanks for listening into this edition of the WrestleReview. Sorry for how my voice was wavering. I'm bunged up. I need to really recover. Thanks for listening to the WrestleReview, looking back at the first ever Royal Rumble event, an experimental escapade created by Pat Patterson that would turn into one of the ultimate WWF/E traditions, and my favourite pay-per-view of the year, apart from 2014 and 15. They were both pretty bad. Bunkhouse Stampede unfortunately did not build the same rich history. Lol. NWA WCW fail. Remember to like and subscribe if you're tuning in from YouTube. Repost and share on SoundCloud, and please send us your feedback to the email address WrestleReviewFans@gmail.com. Don't forget to listen as well to the other awesome shows on the Piledriver/OSW podcast network. Next time we'll be looking at WrestleMania 4, featuring a 14-man tournament to determine the winner of the vacated WWF title after the Andre victory debacle. It sounds like a cluttered show, but I'll remain optimistic until I actually watch it. But until next time, I'm going to go and recover. It's actually my birthday today, so Oh, I'm not exactly ill, but, you know, it's not the nicest thing to have. I'm going to go recover. I've got a new TV to set up. And I will see you later, wrestling fans, for WrestleMania 4. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.